The story opens with a quiet family dinner. Everything seems perfectly normal until a sudden knock at the door shatters the calm. The father goes to check, unaware of the brutal fate awaiting him. Peering through the peephole, he finds a hitman named Rocco. Without a word, Rocco fires a shot, killing him instantly. But he doesn't stop there. He storms inside and executes the entire family, leaving no survivors. Before walking away, he slices off one of the father's fingers, a gruesome trophy for mafia boss Don Lucchesi. Even though Lucchesi is behind bars, his grip on the criminal underworld remains unshaken. From prison, he continues to pull the strings, ordering hits on anyone he deems disloyal, thanks to loyal assassins like Rocco. The scene then shifts to Giovanni, his wife Maggie, their kids Belle and Warren, and their dog. They've just arrived in Paris, not for vacation, but for survival. After testifying against the mafia and exposing Lucchesi's crimes, Giovanni became a marked man. Now in witness protection, the FBI has given his family new identities. But no matter how hard they try to blend in, it's impossible to look ordinary with agents shadowing them around the clock. Belle and Warren roll in a French school, while Maggie tries to settle into daily life. Giovanni, restless and bored, finds an old typewriter in the garage. But trouble finds him quickly. At the supermarket, Maggie faces open hostility and xenophobia from locals. She pretends to brush it off, but instead of venting in words, she chooses fire. Literally. She leaves behind a gift of gasoline and matches, and moments later, the store goes up in flames. Meanwhile, Warren becomes the target of school bullies. Rather than fight back immediately, he lets them rough him up, knowing how to take a beating without real damage. Later, he calmly walks into the cafeteria bruised but unfazed, a calculated move that shows he's learned how to survive. Belle, on the other hand, gets into her own kind of trouble when a group of boys tries to lure her into a dangerous situation by a secluded lake. But Belle is no victim. She outsmarts them, steals their car, and drives herself home, leaving the would-be predators stranded. That evening, Robert Stanfield, the FBI handler overseeing their case, drops by. He casually mentions a missing fishmonger, gone for 2 weeks. Giovanni denies any knowledge, but the truth is darker. The man had tried to cheat Maggie with rotten fish. Giovanni killed him in a fit of rage and buried the body in the backyard. Robert suspects nothing, but warns Giovanni to stay informed if the case resurfaces. That night, haunted by nightmares of Lucchesi's hitmen, Giovanni finds himself unable to sleep. To calm his nerves, he turns to the typewriter, beginning to document his life story. In the process, he even starts listing 10 reasons why, despite everything, he still believes he's a good man. The problem was that none of Giovanni's so-called reasons made sense to anyone living a normal life. They weren't virtues, they were warped excuses. While lost in his twisted reflections, the doorbell rang. A plumber had finally shown up, more than 2 hours late, to fix a problem in the house. Instead of apologizing, he tried to charge for half-finished work, then demanded an extra fee if Giovanni wanted the job done quickly. Patience was never Giovanni's strong suit. This time it snapped. He grabbed a baseball bat and savagely beat the man. Compared to the fate of the fishmonger, the plumber was lucky. He survived. Feeling a rare flicker of guilt, Giovanni drove him to the hospital, spinning a ridiculous story about a fall down the stairs. The excuse didn't hold up well. The man had 12 broken bones and a crushed throat. The doctor stared at Giovanni like he knew the truth, but wisely chose silence. Meanwhile, Maggie had her own approach. She crossed the street to the vacant house opposite theirs, the surveillance base of the FBI agents assigned to protect them. Her mission wasn't sabotage, it was hospitality. While Giovanni solved problems with violence, Maggie softened their watchers with warm meals and kindness, ensuring the agents stayed loyal without complaints. At school, Warren was busy building his own empire. Tired of being the bully's punching bag, he decided it was time to flip the script. First, he struck a deal, trading homework answers for rare collectible cards. But his real prize was something more valuable, securing the protection of a muscular classmate who could stand with him when the time for payback arrived. Warren didn't stop there. He smuggled medicine from the school pharmacy and sold it on the underground student market, raising funds for his operation. When the day came, Warren and his crew ambushed the bullies, proving once and for all that underestimating a mobster's son is a fatal mistake. Belle had her own battles. After clashing with a girl who wouldn't stop tormenting her, she secretly developed a crush on her young substitute teacher, Andre. Hoping to get closer, she asked for extra math lessons. Naive and focused on academics, Andre agreed. Their study sessions grew more frequent until Belle decided to make a bold move. She showed up in his room uninvited, locked the door, and tried to seduce him. But Andre, startled and unprepared, quickly realized what was happening and pulled away, leaving Belle humiliated and frustrated. Days later, Maggie, always mindful of appearances, organized a backyard barbecue to win over the neighbors. The more sociable the family looked, the less suspicion they'd draw. Giovanni, naturally, hated the idea of mingling with strangers, but reluctantly played along. As he grilled the meat, a few neighbors mocked his cooking skills. In his mind, Giovanni pictured pressing their faces against the hot grill. But in a rare display of restraint, he forced a smile and kept turning the stakes. A party without murder was always good for keeping the FBI at ease. As the gathering went on, Robert Stanfield watched discreetly, scanning for any sign of trouble. A month into their new life, though, the family discovered a problem far bigger than blending in. Their tap water looked more like sewage. Neighbors complained too, but no one seemed willing to act. Giovanni first tried the proper channels, visiting the mayor's office. The result? A long-winded speech and no solutions. Fed up with bureaucracy, he investigated himself, tracing the issue to a chemical fertilizer plant dumping waste directly into the water supply. So, Giovanni did what any responsible citizen in his position would do. Of course, Giovanni's idea of being a responsible citizen wasn't exactly conventional. He stormed into the fertilizer factory, confronted the arrogant owner who dismissed the pollution problem, and handled it the only way he knew how. He built a homemade time bomb, planted it in the facility, and set it to detonate while he was safely at home. But he didn't stop there. To make it personal, he delivered a brutal beating to the businessman before calling it a day. Back at school, Warren faced a seemingly simple task: come up with a motto for the student newspaper. He struggled until a memory surfaced, an old mafia saying he once overheard at a gathering with Don Lucchesi: "If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me." It had been a passing joke back then, but now Warren suggested it innocently. The school loved it and adopted it. A local beverage company even printed the phrase on its labels, which were shipped straight into the prison where Lucchesi was serving time. The moment he saw the label, Lucchesi knew. That phrase wasn't just a slogan, it was a mafia signature. Someone in Paris was sending a message. Enraged, he ordered Rocco to get on the next flight to France. Meanwhile, Giovanni received a call from an eager neighbor inviting him to a movie screening and discussion panel. Having casually mentioned he was a writer, Giovanni was suddenly seen as the perfect guest to spice up the debate. The next day, Warren was dragged into a teachers' meeting over his constant fights, while Belle faced her own heartbreak. Her crush, Andre, the young substitute teacher, ended things abruptly. He was leaving abroad for years. For Belle, it felt like the end of the world. Back to Giovanni, he decided to attend the film event, dragging a reluctant Robert from the FBI with him. What was supposed to be harmless turned into a nightmare for Robert when Giovanni, with his natural mobster charisma, stole the spotlight as a panelist, openly discussing crime with an enthusiastic crowd. Robert nearly lost his mind. This was exactly the kind of attention they didn't need. That night, the factory Giovanni sabotaged erupted in flames. Robert instantly connected the dots, furious at Giovanni's recklessness. He forced him home, ordering him to stay put until the FBI figured out the next move. But trouble had already arrived. Rocco and his crew launched their assault with military precision, crippling the police station and fire department to ensure no help could reach the Mazzone family. From a rooftop nearby, Belle saw the chaos unfold and realized the hunt had begun. She sprinted home to warn her family. At the same time, Maggie, returning from FBI headquarters, noticed their home was already surrounded by armed men in black. She bolted inside to alert the agents stationed there. Within moments, gunfire erupted, and the house went up in flames. Giovanni barely escaped, but the agents weren't so lucky. Robert arrived at the police station only to find a massacre, officers dead everywhere. He knew then that Rocco had come to finish the job. In the chaos, Belle and Warren armed themselves from the car trunk and launched a counterattack alongside their parents. They fought with ferocity, taking down Rocco's men one by one, until only the hitman himself remained. Rocco shot Warren and chased Belle through the streets, but just as he was about to finish her, Robert appeared, ending the fight by running Rocco over with his car. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Giovanni and his family had to disappear again, adopting new identities in yet another city. The mafia's reach was endless, and rumors spread quickly that Don Lucchesi had already hired another assassin to continue the hunt. For Mobster's family, peace would never be more than an illusion. Oh, and as for the family dog, he hurt his paw during the chaos. But don't worry, he's fine. No matter how far they ran, the mafia always found a way to catch up. But in the end, survival is all that matters. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next thrilling recap. Until then, stay safe and stay curious.